All right. Thank you for joining me again. This is our last and final lesson with our technical line drawings of tops for your assignment in week 1 CAD class. So we left off finishing up with the sweatshirt that we did here. So I'm going to slide my artboards over. I don't need that palette open. I'm going to open my layers menu, lock the sweatshirt layer since I'm done with that, and add one more. I'm going to call this one a camp shirt. This is a style of a button-down shirt, but it does not have a stand at the neck. The collar is just sewn directly to the bodice, front and back. This is a type style shirt, more casual than the men's dress wear with the two-piece collar. Both for men and women. Women's camp shirts, you'll see the darts through the body, perhaps to fit the shirt a little more for the female form. In men's styles, the darts would be left out and it would hang straight on the body. Now, in this tutorial, I'm actually going to, whoops, I'm trying to get the shirt just in the screen. There we go. We're going to attempt drawing this one actually over our garment because the garment is laid very flat and straight for what we want. We can draw the shirt and then bring it over to the body and scale it down to be more appropriate to the proportions of our croquis. All right, so getting set up here to draw. Again, we're going to use our pen tool, but we need to check our attributes. We want a black stroke, and the fill we want to be a nothing fill, and our pen tool. Remember, the first set of paths that we lay down is going to be basically the silhouette of the garment. And I like to work on the very outside edges of this one, as well as only one half of it. I draw on the right-hand side. Your brain may work the left-hand side better, so you can draw the left-hand side and reflect that. That order does not matter. So I'm going to start up here around the neck, single click, single click, single click, single clicks. All right. So far, I really haven't needed to make a curved line. Even in here, I'm going to click, hold, and drag. I can temporarily change from my pen tool, toggle over to my pan tool, which is the hand, by holding down my space bar. As soon as I let up off the space bar, I am back to my pen tool. Single click, and then coming down here at center front, I'm going to click. Notice the line's a straight line, and the coordinates there are in the way. But the bottom of the shirt curves a little, so I'm going to click, hold my button down on my mouse key, hold my shift key down, and pull out till that line kind of mimics the curve of the hem. This last line right in there. And I am done drawing, so I'm going to switch to my selection tool, which will be keyboard shortcut V, or you can just go over to the toolbox over here. All right, so now we have half our shirt in place. We need to mirror or reflect that half. Double click on it. We're going to make a copy. All right, it didn't seem to do anything but my last segment. Do you see it way down here? And it's because I didn't select the whole thing. It just had my last point deposited on the screen selected. So I'm going to Command Z, undo what I just did. Make sure that I get my selection tool and select the whole object. It looked as if it were all selected, but what had happened is the last point that I had clicked down here was the one that got mirrored. So now, having made sure I collected the actual object I want to reflect, copy, there we go, that looks better. Go to my selection tool again, making sure that object's still the one selected, and I'm going to drag it across the page, or keyboard arrows. Now, I'm just going to have to visually accept sort of where I believe that's centered on here, because it is slightly a little bit different than up here is where I am looking. Down here, I think that's just going to be all right, the way that we're going to leave that drawn. there are going to be some discrepancies from a photograph to here. Okay, now zooming in, we have a little bit of a crisscross of our points up here, but hopefully we should still be able to gather both of them. There's one, there's the other. Object, path, averaging them. All right, so they were overlapping each other, but now they are in the same spot, but they are not joined. Then object, path, join. Now those segments are joined. Moving on down this way, going to click and drag around the two bottom points at the very bottom. Depending on where you finished up, you may have a wider gap than me or not. Object, path, average them first. Click OK. Object, path, join. Notice out here to the far right are the keyboard shortcut codes for how to do that just via the keyboard, which I usually use, but for our tutorials I want you to know where on the menu to go get those. All right, so they are joined. Moving out just a little bit. Okay, so we have our outline of our garment. Now let's lay in some of the details. I'll start with a dart point. I'm going to use my pen tool, but my details in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use a 0.75. I'm going to single click. Click here somewhere in the middle, maybe hold and drag just to give it a slight arc, and back down to the line down here, single click. To get out of the tool, go back to my selection tool. I'm going to select that dart, reflect a copy of it, and move it right across screen to where the other dart is, approximately. Okay, it's not laying exactly the same, but you get the idea. It looks like it's about there. All right, let's scroll up just a little bit and do our armhole seam. Again, I want to be on 0.75 for my width. A lot of times I do my details a little bit smaller than my outline, and then any top stitching I do even smaller. So I set a single point, set a point, hold, drag, and then my last one under the arm, single click. Again, switching to my selection tool, reflect that object as a copy, go back to the selection tool so I don't reflect it anymore, and then I'm going to have to tap in here. This time I am looking for my alignment better with my outline shape rather than exactly where it's laying for the garment. All right, next things here, some detail lines for the collar looks. All right, let's do our pen tool, and in this case I'm going to pick up about here, and I'm going to draw these. And these details I may draw individually instead of copying, okay? And interpreting, instead of trying to also draw the whole curves of that, I'm just going to bring that straight on down and toggle off of this because I want to stay in my pen tool. I will just hold down my command key and it just allows me to click away from the line I just drew. Now I'm back into drawing again, and I'm going to pick up here, single click to make my collar. Click away from everything and start another new path here. I don't want to close that path at that line, so I'm going to click down here at that corner, come back up and back over here, click, hold, and drag, and that gives me that slight curve there. Toggle away from everything. Now then on this side, click, hold, drag. You'll just have to lay your points down in what you feel kind of gives the look of what you're tracing, okay? So down to the collar and on over, toggle away, picking up here, here, and back into there. Toggle away. I have a back neckline that I can put in here. There we go, toggle away. And then my seam lines for my yoke pieces. So I'm interpreting a little of what I'm tracing above, but also making sure that it matches more like my line drawing. Last little bit right here are my buttons. So let's zoom in a little bit. And we're going to draw a circle. So instead of using our pen, we'll use a shape tool. We'll use the ellipse tool. And I'm going to hold down my Shift key so I constrain it to a perfect circle instead of an oval. The Shift key constrains it to that. In conjunction with holding the Shift key, I'm also going to hold down the Alt-Option key so that I draw from the center out. So I'll click, hold, and drag center out. So I get about the size of that button so that it proportionally looks about the same. Now then, instead of trying to draw that same button over and over again, to be the exact same size, which would be hard to do, it's easier to just make a copy of that. And with that original button that I drew selected, I'll hover my selection arrow over it. I'm going to hold down my Alt-Option key. Come on, Alt-Option key. And I want to be drawing, the Alt-Option key allows us to drag a copy. Then I let up off the mouse, then off the button. And I'm going to do that again. I'm having to touch right in the center of that selection because it's an empty fill and it's getting picky about wanting to rotate it. So I want to get right next to that, my point right on that center part. Alt key again, mouse button up first, then Alt key up next. And whoops, see, I didn't have my Alt key down and it moved it, not a copy of it. So let me get here, Alt key is pushed down, mouse button up, then Alt key up. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. There we go. So we have actually traced it. So if your garment looks pretty laid flat and straight, you can kind of trace right off the garment. Or if a garment was put onto a dress form and the picture was taken straight on. So I am going to make my selection outside of all my lines. I don't want to touch on any one. And I'm dragging my selection container box to select all parts of the shirt. Okay. Actually, let's back up one more here. I'm going to click on the silhouette of the shirt and I'm going to give it a solid white fill. There we go. Now I can select and drag over everything. I am going to go ahead and group this whole object right now. And then I'm going to be able to touch right in the middle of it because it's got a white fill, and I'm going to kind of lay it in place over her. It's going to be a little big on her. So to scale it down, we're going to go to one of the corners. We're going to hold the Shift key down so we constrain all the proportions. We're also going to hold the Alt-Option key because that allows us to drag and scale from the center down rather than the corner in. And as I do that, I may find I want to kind of move that up a little bit to see that it kind of works well for the body shape there. And I'd say overall that does. That's a good symmetrical looking shirt. We'll zoom on out. And now you can see all three garments. Make sure you do a save for your last final changes. Make sure your file name has your initials or your name in it for the one you upload to My Course Connection. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to get in contact with me. I will be happy to try and meet you using our Zoom.us lecture links. And that way you can share with me your screen and show me whatever you're having problems with, and I will get you back on track. That's what I'm here for. Well, good luck drawing. Have a great day. Thank you.